All right, for this lecture, we read Thi Nguyen's piece on echo chambers and epistemic bubbles. The core insight of this paper, or at least one of them, the first most important one for this paper, is that we tend to think of echo chambers as places where you only hear one side. You yell echo and you hear it come right back. Thi argues that this is not what an echo chamber is. Rather, that's what he calls, we'll see in a moment, an epistemic bubble. And the solution to this misconception of what an echo chamber is just to give someone more information. So if all they're hearing is the echoing of their voice against the wall of the same thing said back to them, you offer new information and then that breaks the echo chamber. But this is wrong. We're actually confusing two different things when we think of echo chambers in this way. These two things are the echo chamber and the epistemic bubble, where the epistemic bubble is an informational network where outside sources have been omitted. There's not the other information. This is like what we misconceive of as the echo chamber. You simply don't hear the other side, often by accident or social sorting, and your worldview is untested and fragile. The echo chamber, on the other hand, and this is the important insight of the piece, is a social structure that actively discredits outside sources. You are taught not to distrust the other side. Not to trust the other side. And it isn't just missing information, it's a fortress built against information. So the idea of an epistemic bubble is that there's omitted information. An echo chamber, you can have that other information, but you don't trust it. So epistemic bubbles are fragile. They're easy to pop. They're often caused accidentally or by self-selection through social sorting, like you and all your friends have the same kind of view, and if you meet someone new who sort of shifts your perspective, then you might grow a little bit, right? And the problem is exclusion of information by omission, and the solution to an epistemic bubble is simple. Just give new information, offer a new perspective, and your epistemic bubble will pop. The echo chamber, on the other hand, is resilient to new information. They're incredibly robust, argues Thi, because they don't just omit outside voices, they actively demonize outside voices. So echo chambers are fortified against counter-evidence because the sources of counter-evidence are undermined by a loss of trust. So echo chambers function by discrediting. They teach members that all outside sources are liars. Echo chambers attack motives. So they tend to claim that outsiders aren't just wrong, but are malicious, corrupt, or evil. And then once these undermining motivations and discrediting acts occur from the echo chamber, there's additional social isolation, which leads to the severing of bonds of trust with friends or family. And the idea is that the echo chamber becomes the only source of trust for its members. So this looks a lot like cult activity, where a cult's primary work isn't to hide the outside world, at least usually. It's to convince members that the outside world is corrupt, dangerous, and untrustworthy. Likewise, the echo chamber is kind of like a cult light. It might not demand all of your money and physical relocation, but it does demand the same core thing, which is your exclusive epistemic trust. It defines the in-group who to trust and the out-group who to demonize. So the echo chamber doesn't just attack facts, it attacks your network of trust. It tries to become your only trusted source, and it replaces the vast, complex social network of knowledge with a small, closed, and simple one. Only trust us. And QAnon is a great example of this. So QAnon is a perfect modern echo chamber. It's not just about a lack of information. The members were exposed to constant counter-evidence through the news and through their family and friends. And the QAnon system was built to withstand it. Only trust Q, this spooky, esoteric, anonymous source on a garbage forum board on the internet, right? So the idea is if you only believe this anonymous source, you distrust everyone else, then that anonymous source can lead you to believe some pretty peculiar things. So the echo chamber's trust structure is built on a total distrust of all official sources and a total trust in some anonymous insider source, in this case it was Q, and its chosen interpreters. And social media is a big source of echo chambers, not just because it shows you what you like, it shows you what you engage with. So outrage and fear drive engagement, and outrage and fear help to reinforce echo chambers. And if engagement is what sells advertisements, and social media is about selling advertisements, then if it can drive you into echo chambers, then maybe it keeps you there and maybe it sells more advertisements, right? So this naturally promotes and amplifies content that discredits the other side. So T asks, how do you escape an echo chamber? Well, you don't reason your way out. People who escape cults almost never do it by winning an argument. They escape because a crack forms in their distrust, an act of kindness from an outsider, a persistent friend, or an internal emotional contradiction. And this crack is able to sort of slowly expand. But it doesn't expand just from like giving more facts, because remember, an echo chamber is not an epistemic bubble. And facts can cause a backfiring effect, in as much as giving facts might lead you to think that if you're in the echo chamber, that the person presenting the facts is part of that distrusted other side. The facts that you bring come from sources the echo chamber has already discredited, so your evidence is seen as a part of the conspiracy, which only proves to the person in the echo chamber that the outgroup is malicious. So the path out, suggests T, is what he calls a trust reboot. So escaping an echo chamber like a cult is not a step-by-step rational deduction from within the system of the echo chamber. Rather, it requires a reboot of trust, what we count as a trustable source, what we count as sources of good information. Which requires likewise a decision to place trust in outside peoples despite the programming not to trust them. So this isn't something like a Cartesian project where you can sit by the fire and delete all of your beliefs and build back good ones. You can't just do this alone. It takes a community because we're dependent. We're epistemically dependent. The things that we know depend upon things that we can't know. So to know, for instance, that the world is a sphere, the globe, the earth is a sphere, requires trust in certain types of mathematic processes, in certain peer-reviewed science, in measuring apparatuses, that I don't know how any of that works, but I trust the scientists who do, and so I assume that the earth is a globe, is a sphere. Because I trust the sources of information and the good science that they produce. So I trust in experts, and this gives me good information. And this community of trust and knowledge building is something that someone from an echo chamber is excluded from and needs to slowly be worked back into. So knowledge then is like a social product built on a vast distributed network of specialists and institutions, not all of which are good, but there are checks and balances that help us to constantly be refining and improving our system of trust. And so the person in the echo chamber, in being entirely excluded, needs to slowly work themselves back in to select the checks and the balances that they deem appropriate, and the ones that they don't. And this requires help. This requires work on the part of the community to fold people back in. So our responsibility then as a community to help those of us in an echo chamber. The meme is cut off. The dog has a little ball, a tennis ball in its mouth. Our responsibility is don't fact bomb. It doesn't work, and it likely will backfire, painting you as a part of the malignant outgroup to the person in the echo chamber. We want to maintain our relationships, and we want to keep the lines of personal trust open. So be the outsider that this person still has a human connection with. Treat them with love and respect and compassion. Focus on trust and not arguments. Because the battle isn't on who's right and who's wrong. The battle is on who to trust and who not to trust. And so what you want to do is model a kind of healthy disagreement. And likewise, engage in self-reflection. Examine your own trust networks. Maybe examine for yourself why you believe the things that you do and whether you're believing on good authority or not. And to take part in this process of trust rebooting with your friend. Who can you discredit and who can you trust?